you have a kid.
Well, let's hope I remember how to do this, folks. But for the first time in, let's see, 60 days and 61 shows in 76 days. Good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome back into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball world. Back with you, folks, for one final show here in 2016, and for the first time in the brand new digs. Good evening, folks, alongside Eric Nimchok, the beat writer for the WNBA from today's Fast Break, joining us in Elmhurst, Illinois, and the SoCal tag team of Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles. Hey, he's back and better than ever, we hope. Cal McClure back with you folks here, back from home base, the Calamax Sports Studios here in San Diego. Got a long way to go still, though, but glad to be back in one piece, back in the house, not where I was earlier. But Eric, Crystal, and Shorty, good to see you guys after what's been a long few months, it seems like, or feels like at least. But good to see you guys, and how is it going?
Hey.
Hey, glad to have you back, Callan, and I'm sure Crystal is happy that she gets to see her fans again.
Oh, my God. I don't have any of those, but if they're out there, I appreciate you.
With that, folks, again, hopefully I remember how to do this thing. It's been, again, like I said, it's been 61 shows in 76 days since the last time I was in charge of our program. And, of course, want to give a much-needed shout-out to Eric, Crystal, and Marquez and Rap and Shorty for
Thank you.
holding down fort during the finals while, of course, I was out getting the house fixed and everything else included. Again, got a long way to go to get it totally fixed, but I got one of my boxes to move in, and I got my new bed put in place. So this is at least a temporary studio for the time being. Of course, folks, like normal, Facebook, Twitter, live chat boxes, like any other program, open for you folks at facebook.com/WNBA365, or find us on Twitter at Calamac3 or at Calamac Sports, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010, or at Nemchocky. Hashtags of WNBA365, hashtag return to 171, or the hashtag One Network. We had a comment already, guys, in the chat box way before the show even started tonight. From Kennedy Robinson, who said, missed you guys. And, of course, our good man, Todd Mintz, who will be working on getting into our program since we began our seasonal recaps, who said, welcome back all. Again, guys, hopefully remember how to do this program, but we'll get to, I guess, some of the big news in the offseason rumor mill at this point. But first, of course, the big news as of right now, earlier in the offseason, while we were still getting back into home base here, of course, guys, was Amber Stocks being named the head coach of the Chicago Sky, and Pokey Chapman being fired from Chicago, then being hired on over at Indiana. I guess, Shorty, to start off with the new offseason, or start off our offseason coverage at least with the new coaching hires, at least for both teams. Obviously, Chicago getting to the league semifinals last year, losing to Los Angeles last season under Pokey Chapman and her regime. Also getting to the WNBA finals under Pokey in 2014. And as well, some of the turnover as well, and then Amber Stocks going from the Sparks and the 2016 champs as an assistant coach, at least, now going to be the head coach of the Chicago Sky. Shorty, what do you make of both these moves for both teams, though, as you look at this, as we do, again, begin our offseason coverage here and now on the network?
Overall, I thought it was pretty interesting. You know, sadly, some Sky fans have been wondering if, you know, the organization would somehow do away. It's been talked about for pull the trigger this year. You know, I didn't see it coming, but it finally did. But you know, she was quickly picked up by the Indiana Fever, in which, you know, I think that would be for her. And as for Amber Stocks, yeah, she was the former assistant of the, you know, LA Sparks. Just helped this year capture a championship.
All right, so we have some minor technical problems, folks. Again, I know I promised that we were gonna try to fix some of these, but again, as of right now, a bit of a rough start. But I guess, Crystal, to begin here at least with both, again, Amber Stocks to Chicago from Los Angeles, and then again, Pokey Chapman fired from the Sky and then hired over to Indiana. I guess, Crystal, to start off the discussion with Pokey Chapman, first and foremost, of course, GM head coach, double tag with Chicago, got that club to the 2014 finals. But as we saw, though, 2014, 2015, and maybe part of 2016, or more so at least 2014 and then this year, Crystal, more so playoff runs ended either in the finals or early when Elena Delle Donne was injured, either the back problem that kept her out in 2014 and this year, the thumb injury that kept her out for most of the 2016 playoffs. Again, Crystal, thoughts first of all, I guess, about Pokey Chapman being let go by Chicago earlier in the offseason.
You know what? I think the Pokey thing, it's a little weird how that happened. It's a little, I guess I would say, I'm just going to keep it at weird. It's a little weird how that situation happened. I'm going to just keep it at that because there's a lot with that situation. But I'm going to say it's a little weird and a little kind of like a really and why. But once you kind of know what happens and like the ins and outs between that, then you're kind of like, you're still like, why? But it's a lot. So I'm just going to keep it at that. It's a lot and it's a weird situation.
So again, Eric, of course, you being our resident Sky guru in this hangout, of course, on the network, Todd, of course, wanted to chime in to say that, he says, I am sure you have a lot to say about this. So I guess, Eric, what are your thoughts, though, about, I guess, seeing Pokey Chapman, again, being released or being fired, I should say, during the offseason? Because, again, like I pointed out, though, Eric, I mean, there were a couple good talking points, though, from when EDD got into the mix in 2013, finals run the next year. But, again, the back problem keeps her out this year. Going through the first round bye, beating their opponent, going to the league semifinals. But again, a thumb problem keeps Delle Donne out once more. But I guess, Eric, is there any final thoughts you'd like to pass along about what you thought of the job that Pokey Chapman did for the Sky in her time there?
Okay, you're giving me an out here because I do have a lot to say about it, but there's not a lot I want to say about it. If you know what I mean. What I think of the job Pokey did, I think the results really started showing around 2013 and 2014 because the Sky turned from this pretty much joke of a franchise. It took them so long to even make the playoffs for the first time. And then for the past few seasons, they've been one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference year in and year out, with or without Delle Donne playing. And I think we saw in the playoffs last season how they almost, I don't want to say they played better without her because that's not true, but they looked like they were used to playing without her. So that's a great coaching job done by Pokey. I'm really going to miss her. The move surprised me. It was kind of a bummer, to be honest with you. She's a great person. She's a great coach, and I'm really happy Indiana scooped her up because she deserves it.
So again, Shorty, we'll try this again with you. We'll start first with Pokey Chapman again, as Eric brought up here already about how the Sky, of course, guys, is that expansion club in the mid 2000s, somewhat later 2000s, I should say, towards the new decade of WNBA basketball. And again, how more so it took them, like Eric said, it took them a long time to get in the playoff mix, and how they become pretty much a usual team you see, a usual suspect you see in the postseason. But I guess, Shorty, more about Pokey Chapman, overall thoughts on the job she did in your mind with the Chicago Sky for those few years she was there.
Okay, first and foremost, can you hear me?
You're good for right now.
Yeah, for right now. Sorry, my connection does not do good in the ring, but just overall for Pokey, I mean, I'd say the last 4 seasons for the Sky, she did very well, managing the team, got them to the first playoff appearance in 2013. It's just that she did well, like I said, with the roster that she had. It's just that so many things that happened that was out of her control, player, removal, wanting trades and things like that. So you can't fully pin those type of things on her, things happen, but overall she did, well with what she had. I think she's very great at drafting, talent, Parker, Dos Santos and Faulkner and those kind of players. She did very well, but just overall, I mean, sadly her time was up. So, it was time for her to move on to Indiana.
So I guess, Shorty, to stay and move to the other side of the coin now, which again is Amber Stocks, the LA Sparks assistant coach on the 2016 championship team, being hired a couple of days later by the Sky as their new head coach as well. Of course, Shorty, we saw Amber this year with the Sparks again as a part of Brian Agler's coaching staff, along with Tonya Edwards as well, who was a part of Brian Agler's championship coaching staff this year. Shorty, overall thoughts, I guess, and reaction from your side of the story about Stocks going to become the new GM and head coach of the Chicago Sky?
That was a move that was definitely left field because, it was said, by Michael Alter that they did, hire more experienced coaches in ahead of her, and she wasn't even top on the list. So for her to beat out those other more experienced coaches, says a lot about her, and it's a testament to her willpower to not have that much experience, but to ultimately get the job anyway. So, props to her. And I think one thing she will focus on this team is defense. They finished 11th in defense for Chicago. So I think that's going to be one of the areas that she's going to try to shore up for Chicago heading into next year.
Crystal, I'm sure that you and I have been a part of it. I'll probably look to you and Reagan more on this question is, what does a coaching change in your mind really do to a franchise that is either, that has done well in recent years, or they're either up and coming like what we've seen with Chicago, of course, battling for so long to get into the playoff mix. But I know that we talk a lot about either change of scenery for players, but I guess, Crystal, how about a change on top with either the GM, or how about a coaching change? I guess what can that do to a team in your mind?
It can do a lot. I mean, depending on how the players felt about the coach and what I've seen and heard, a lot of the players respected and loved Pokey Chapman. So we won't know until season starts, how much it affected them. But depending on how the players felt about the coach previously, or depending on how they felt about the scheme that the coach had, it can make a big difference. I mean, some players will play better, some will probably say the same, and some probably won't play as well. And if it's anything like the school I go to, we've been wanting a coaching change for years and never got it. So if it's a situation like that where you want a coaching change and never receive it, then it could probably be frustrating. But I think for them to have a rookie head coach, I think there's gonna be a lot of not really headbutting, but I think there's going to be a lot of, can we trust her? Does she know what she's doing type of thing? So I think the only thing that they can really do and the players can really do is just give her a chance to see how she works out for them.
Fair answer. And again, Eric, going to you on this one. So again, Pokey Chapman is fired and goes to Indiana. So I guess, Eric, what was your overall thoughts and your reaction, I guess, during the news that, again, the Sky had hired Amber Stocks from Los Angeles, again, an assistant coach to become the new head coach and also GM of the franchise?
Few things. First of all, I know absolutely nothing about Amber, so I'll defer to pretty much everyone else in this hangout because you're all Sparks fans and I'm not. I'm excited to have her. It's good to know that we have somebody doing the job right now. But I thought it was a little interesting because, as you said, Michael Alter made a comment about Amber Stocks being lower on the list of candidates. Like, why would you even say that? But that's another rant. Like I said, I don't really know anything about her, so I know she's really good with player development. So hopefully that will continue what the Sky have going, because I think the Sky have been one of the better teams at developing players in the WNBA for the past few years. Other than that, I know absolutely nothing about her, so it's kind of good and bad because maybe she'll give the team a fresh start. We just got to hope for the best as Sky fans. We're happy to have her. Happy to have her leading the team into this kind of new era, which I'm sure we'll be talking about shortly. Yeah.
So with that, again, folks, two teams have gotten new head coaches and or GMs, or both of them. Again, the Fever getting Pokey Chapman, who was fired by the Chicago Sky, and then the Sky hiring former LA Sparks assistant coach Amber Stocks to a deal to become the team's GM and head coach. Guys, there's still one team that is up in the air right now on their head coaching decision. That is the San Antonio Stars. But also, guys, Todd Mitch brings up a question. He says the team that needed a coaching change the most in his mind was Dallas, while the rest of the league is pretty much decent. Shorty, any response to that comment post again? What do you think, though, about Dallas and perhaps maybe a coaching change for them as well?
That could come about maybe after next season. But I think overall, I like Fred Williams. He's a good coach. He's always been good with a young core. When he has a young core in his possession, that I just think they need more of a roster change than a coaching change.
Crystal, what do you think? Coaching change or roster change more so needed for the Wings to improve for 2017? What do you think?
I agree with Shorty. I mean, I do think eventually, unfortunately, they will get rid of Fred Williams, but I think that whole Diggins and Sims tandem probably might need to break up soon. I don't think that's working for them. I agree with Shorty. I think the roster there has to be more moves in the roster, more than Fred Williams needs to move. But I can see if he ends up, getting fired after this year. I wouldn't be surprised.
And Eric, what do you think? Once more, roster change or coaching change is which one is most needed in Dallas in your mind for 2017?
Roster change, because that team had absolutely no chemistry towards the end of the season. I don't like playing armchair sports psychologist and saying that the team quit, but they kind of quit. Like, you could tell it in their play. It was not good. You had Odyssey Sims violating team rules multiple times, and Fred Williams does not have many team rules. Okay, he's a very easygoing, laid-back guy. So that kind of tells me that the locker room was taking advantage of it, maybe. And maybe by that logic, you could say that yes, you need a coaching change because you can't trade everybody. However, I think he's a better coach than people are giving him credit for. It's just that his team is not built to go far in the playoffs. They can't defend the pick and roll. They never have been able to defend the pick and roll while they were in Tulsa, and it's still not good. Skylar Diggins and Odyssey Sims, I don't think are a very good fit in the backcourt together. And you could probably get a good haul for Odyssey Sims, or at least a decent return in a trade, even though she had an off year in 2016. And, I think they've had the talent, but the talent just hasn't been able to mesh. And you can put that in Williams if you want, but I don't think it's the right mix of players. And you can tell, and, like another example would be Glory Johnson not showing up to training camp a couple years ago, I think, or showing up to training camp late without any reason. You've got players who are not really committed, and I'm not sure how much the coach actually has to do with that. But I like Crystal said, I wouldn't be surprised if he is fired because, again, it's easier to fire a coach than trade all the players, and it's easier to scapegoat the coach and scapegoat one of the players. But yeah, I think the wise decision would be to make some trades because I think they could, honestly. But we'll see what happens.
So again, folks, once more to reiterate, again, Amber Stocks, new head coach of the head coaching GM of the Chicago Sky, Pokey Chapman, after being fired by Chicago, new head coach, GM, or at least new head coach, I should say, of the Indiana Fever. Of course, guys, the biggest off-season talking point right now remains in Eric's backyard in Chicago. The chatter that has been in the rumor mill for a couple days and at least a week now. The latest news from the Locked On WBB podcast with current Chicago Sky star Elena Deladon has hinted, guys, that perhaps a Sylvia Fowles-esque type sit out and perhaps force a trade here again with the Chicago Sky happening at least 2 times within the last 3 seasons, at least looking back at 2015 when that move was made by the Sky to deal Big Sil to the Lynx in that 3-team trade. So, Shorty, you actually put a story out on this and shared your thoughts on the network website. Shorty, how much of a story do you really make, though, about what could potentially be happening again to Chicago again, losing their perhaps again, losing their second big star within the last 2 or 3 seasons?
Well, it's going to be a big story because even though she sort of, said some sort of subliminals while doing, she just overall stated, she's ready to go. I mean, for whatever reason, she's not meshing with organization, teammates, or whatever the case may be. So she is ready to go, and she is willing to sit out of the 2017 season if she has to. So there's just a lot going on. Sports did talk to Michael Alter, who stated that, he was pondering this trade dating back since last year, so he was pondering the removal of EDD and Pokey Chapman, which is interesting. So overall, we'll see how it plays out, and hopefully the Sky will get a better deal if she's removed out of this than Sylvia Fowles a la last year.
So again, Crystal, for the second time in at least 3 seasons at tops, again, Chicago is facing another superstar dilemma right now. Again, we already have this with Big Sil a couple seasons ago, and then now it's the young stud, but their second overall pick in 2013. It's now perhaps on the trading block as well. Again, citing perhaps either headbutting with the front office or whether it's wanting to be closer to home, I guess, is the bigger one I've heard more so along the lines of both the front office problems along with wanting to be closer to home. But I guess, Crystal, what do you kind of make, though, about this big story that's going to be probably, on the hot stove for a while here for the entire offseason?
The thing that I make of it is that Chicago's just a bad organization when it comes to, excuse me, when it comes to keeping players happy. I mean, you mentioned Sylvia Fowles. You could also talk about the Chrissy Tolliver trade years ago. He's got her for a bag of chips. You can also talk about the Candice Dupree thing. You know, it goes a long way from just what's going on now. I think, honestly, I think the true story will come out eventually whenever all this is boiled down and when this is over. But I just think Chicago as an organization, not the players or anything like that. I just think, you know, the people who are running the front office, I think they're just not, as of right now, what they're doing and keeping the players happy. But at the same time, you know, when it comes to a team, you're always going to have a player that's unhappy. You're going to have, you know, a few people back there who aren't agreeing with whatever's going on in the front office. But I think Chicago in the end will be okay. I think eventually they will become the adequate franchise that we know they can be. And I mean, you know, like Eric and Shorty said earlier, Chicago was actually doing really well. They were one of the teams in the East that was actually looking pretty scary. So I think it will work out, but we'll just have to see.
So again, Eric, you're probably more on top of this story or know more about this than us West Coasters out here. But again, Eric, so Crystal actually just name dropped 4 players that, again, have already been dealt away by the Sky since their inception into the league back in 2008 or 2009 again. Dupree, championship won in Phoenix in 2014. Tolliver, championship won in 2016. Big Sill, championship won 2015 with Minnesota. And then now perhaps Deladon, Eric. So that's 4 key members of championship teams already dealt away by Chicago, and perhaps Deladon next. Eric, you live there. You know what's going on. You follow this organization 24/7. What have you heard what have you heard and or make of this story?
What do I make of it? It really sucks. I'm really sick of people leaving. I'm not going to hold back on that. By the way, another name is Epiphany Prince. She was also traded a couple off seasons ago, and we are still very sad about that here in Chicago. We really liked her. Let's see. What do I say to not get myself into trouble? Okay. So, pretty much, I think the story is already kind of out. It's just that nobody really wants to say what actually happened. Yeah. We say that the front office, there was a bad front office. Well, they just fired the front office. It was Pokey Chapman. She was the general manager, right? So, and then Atlanta still wants to leave. Or so the interview said. You know, I think there's a little bit of how do I want to say it? There's a little bit of
misunderstanding,
a little bit of elaboration that on something. There wasn't really the interview was led in a specific direction from the start. It's almost as if the interviewer knew that she would be leaving or something like that beforehand. Because now you got this stuff. Well, oh, she's got to be going to Washington, but we don't actually have anything concrete behind that, and we don't even know if she. We're pretty sure she's going to be leaving. I mean, there's stuff. I know Crystal can attest to this. There's some stuff on Twitter that we've been seeing that is pretty suggestive of Elena Deladon not being cool with her teammates. Probably Crystal. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. But yes, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we've got that, and I just wonder, like, why would you go and say that in public on an interview saying, yeah, I think I'm going to leave. My teammates, they were good, but I want to go to a team that can win championships or something. You went to the finals in 2014. You've been to the playoffs 4 consecutive seasons. Like, why? It's just so frustrating as a fan to learn about how this is all going down. And I once again go back to Pokey Chapman. Good for her, because she's with a really good organization now in Indiana. And our organization continues to be in the toilet, and it's just really frustrating.
Eric, Crystal, I'll go to you, and you can ask, and you can piggyback off Eric momentarily. But I guess, Eric, right now in your mind, how much probably of this blame that is probably on Deladon perhaps leaving fall on Michael Alter and the entire front office outside of the head coach and GM right now? How much blame does go to the ownership of the Sky for perhaps letting this happen for at least the 5th time in franchise history, where they have dealt a player away to a better team for really no reason whatsoever?
Was that for me or for Crystal?
That was for you, Eric. That was for you.
That was for me. First of all, I wouldn't say it was for no reason. I think it was a very impactful. There's something going on, guys. Trust me on this, okay? and it's pretty significant. I think the first 2 times, Candice Dupree and Christy Tolliver, that was totally unrelated, because the franchise was actually really, really bad back then. Okay, it was like the dark days. It was like an expansion. It was like a WNBA league D League team or something like that. It was not good. Nobody really wanted to play for that team. I mean, they were terrible. Let's be honest. But here and now, you got to ask whether it's the chicken or the egg. Is it the ownership, or is it the players, or is it the general manager? Well, they fired the general manager. The owner is not going to resign, so that brings it down to 2 options. Is it the owner, or is it the players? Well, 2 of the players have been sitting out. One of them sat out to demand a trade. The other one didn't really play much her final season here. And now we have the last player who didn't even make she went on an interview and said, yeah, I'm probably going to leave, after being asked that question, which makes me wonder if some information is being leaked by her camp to some media. I don't know. There's never, the blame can never be placed 100% on one party. That's just not how it works. However, you're under contract. Please just play out your contract, okay? And then when you're a free agent, then you can go wherever you want, all right? Not saying that Michael Alter is completely not at fault for that, because once again, like I said, he doesn't really make the best basketball decisions. Like, once again, like, why would you say in public that Amber Stocks was your lowest candidate? Like, why would you say that? It's not good. But yeah, I know you guys have probably heard stuff about, like, oh, they don't treat their players well. They don't give them good housing, something or other like that. I'm not going to comment on that. All I will say is that the story is pretty much out there already. If you read in between the lines of some of the articles, Patricia Babcock-McGraw of the Daily Herald, that's a good reporter to look at, because she's pretty much already dropped the scoop if you go over and read those articles again. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Now, Crystal, I think you wanted to add something on it. If you have something to add, please do.
Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about the housing stuff. That was not relevant, but I was pretty much going to go on what Eric said. I mean, yeah, there's been, besides the teammates kind of spilling their scoop about it, there's been, like you said, the story that's kind of out a little bit. I think it's funny how when you know something and you're trying without telling them, they think you're wrong, they didn't hear it, or they don't believe it's true. But like Eric said, I mean, you can't really blame one person or another person. There was a lot that was going on in that organization, and fixed, I think so. But I do think definitely, I mean, you can't get on a public stage and go, oh, well, we weren't going to pick her up, but we decided to pick her up because this and this. I mean, you can't do that as an owner. I mean, already you have your fan base and probably some of your players second guessing your decision, and they're probably thinking maybe Michael Alter didn't make the best decision for what was going on, and it kind of sounds like he was unsure of the decision he made as well. So, like I said, all we can really do is just sit back and watch, and like Eric said, I mean, the truth is out there, but it's up to the people if they want to listen and see what's going on, and it will get. As it goes on, I think more of the truth will come out further, but we just have to wait and see if the Chicago Sky organization crash and burn, or if they if they're like a phoenix and rise up to the occasion.
So again, folks, that is the rumor mill right now. Again, due to courtesy of the Locked On WBD podcast, Elena Delle Donne expressing her interest to be dealt, which can include her forcing a trade-in or holding out for the 2017 season. By the way, Eric, Todd wanted to throw one more name in there. Gia Perkins as well was also in the mix for Chicago and was dealt away too. So that makes it 6 players now that we have name dropped on here that, again, were dealt away by the Sky, either for reasons or for what other problems may have. Guys, Todd did put some rumors he's heard about the EDD sweepstakes. He's heard first, it looks like McContry to Dallas for Plaisance, Sims and a first-round pick, and EDD to New York for Stokes and Boyd, and a first rounder maybe for Rebecca Allen as well. So we've heard a lot of stuff, but again, folks, you can find out more probably, or at least once more light is shed on the story, we'll again have more about that when we can bring it to you folks once more. again here this evening. But again, the more so the major story again for the offseason so far again is again presumably courtesy of the Locked On WBB podcast once more. Elena Delle Donne of Chicago Sky again could be on her way out of Chicago, either via forcing a trade and or sitting out to start off the 2017 season. And I know, Shorty, that we've heard a lot of rumors already. Again, this story kind of blew up during the course of the day last week. But I guess, Shorty, I guess to kind of think about this, what is like the number one logical spot for EDD for Elena to go if in fact she does get her wish and she is traded away from Chicago?
I'm not sure per se logical, but the team at least that might make the most sense is Washington, only because of what everyone keeps saying, or at least the rumors that keep coming out is DC is much more closer to Delaware, so that might be the thing. But personally, for me, if I want to be honest, I think she would actually be a real fit in Phoenix because of the system down there. So I think she would fit more in Phoenix system. But again, you never know where she might end up.
So Shorty is saying EDD to Phoenix, which would really, I think, shake up the Western Conference already, guys. And the Western Conference is already loaded enough with star talent between Taurasi and Griner with Phoenix, of course, Candace Parker, Neko Ogumike with the champs out in L.A., Stewie and Bird up in Seattle, and, of course, who can forget Maya Moore and the big three up there in Minneapolis with the Lynx. But I guess, Crystal, what do you think is the most logical spot for Elena to wind up if, in fact, she does get her wish and she does get the trade she wants?
I don't know. I mean, everybody keeps talking about the rumor about the staying close to home thing, which I don't even know if that's really a big issue because she stated that she's not even really in Delaware like that. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would have to see what teams get involved with the trade because it'd have to be a 3-team trade anyway for what they're trying to give up. But I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to wait to see what teams really get involved with the trades because other than that, it's kind of hard to tell right now.
So, Eric, I don't mean to further rain on your parade, man, but this will be the second time again that we've had a 3-team deal against sending a superstar somewhere else. But I guess, Eric, in your mind, at least logically, where's the best spot for EDD to wind up if, in fact, she does get her wish to be traded away from the Sky?
I don't care, to be honest, because it's not where. No, I could be wrong again. Like there could be something we're not being told, but Sylvia Fowles, when she sat out and she requested a trade, it was to one team only. That was Minnesota. And that kind of ruined any leverage at all that this guy had. If EDD, I'm kind of getting the impression that EDD just wants out, period. And if that's the case, then the Sky have 11 other teams to work with. Then they can work on getting the best possible deal in return for her. And so my answer to that question is whoever we get the most assets from, whoever the Sky get the most young talent from, get the most draft picks from, I'm fine with. I really don't care as long as this ends.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you, man. I mean, it's tough to be a fan, of course, and seeing, your favorite player get dealt away and get folks a lot more on this developing story throughout the course of the offseason. And hopefully we'll have a resolution to this sometime very soon. I guess, guys, kind of go back, into the archive a little bit more so back into the WNBA Finals course. I was away, getting my house fixed and everything. But I guess, Shorty, starting with you on this, and we'll have more about the seasonal recap coming up later on in the hour. But I guess, or a little bit more here as we go on again, folks. This is a 2-hour special here. We'll be here till 11 o'clock Pacific time here. But I guess, Shorty, as we kind of, again, think back to the postseason again. Now, Sally was not able to be a part of our network crew during the finals. But again, you guys did a phenomenal job hosting it. But I guess, Shorty, has it really set in, though, yet still that the finals are over and not just that LA won, but again, we've probably experienced one of the best or maybe one of the greatest WNBA finals series in recent memory conclude just over 2 months ago already?
Yeah, it most definitely set in for me. It set in, of course, when, the finals hit and it was there. And I absolutely did not predict a 5-game series. I actually didn't even predict LA to win, and that was just based on stats alone. But, LA rise to the occasion. They proved a lot of people wrong, including me, of course. I mean, when you look into the series. I mean, you thought LA would be sort of done because they weren't really a good rebounding team coming into the finals, but they pretty much, I wouldn't say out rebounded them in the series, but they just out rebounded Minnesota when it counts. I mean, 32 to 27 in game 5, and then killed them on the O boards 14-6. So they just got the things that they needed to get done in order to capture the championship, and that's what they did.
By the way, guys, one quick comment from Todd about the EDD rumors. He says, would not trade her in their own conference, period, end of story. And I believe that would be something that could come back to bite them, of course, because sometimes you see that happen when they trade them away to a rival, to another team inside the division or in the conference. You'll see them again, X amount of times every year. So that is what Todd is saying at this point in time. But again, Crystal, so much hype around the season again. And of course, we'll have more about this coming up throughout the remainder of the program, all the way till 11 o'clock local time this evening. But again, Crystal, I guess, in your mind, where does this finals rank? Because I know that sometimes either the hometown bias will kick in. You'll say, well, our team won, so it's number one. But I guess, Crystal, in your recent memory watching the WNBA, where does this finals, rank in your mind with seeing Los Angeles win it for the first time since 2002?
Man, look, pardon me, my lips was dry. Sorry, y'all.
Oh my God.
Man, look, it took me, and Shorty can vouch for this. It took me. It finally sank in, and it's December, and they win in October. Like that lets you know how bizarre that this win was. I think I was the only one on the panel that actually called them winning in 5 games. I called it in the season that it was going to be LA, Minnesota. Shorty gave me my credit. I said it.
All credit to you. Bow down.
Thank you. But it finally did kick in. I think it's crazy actually seeing all the work they put in through this whole season and seeing them finally get it right. I've always said LA needed something. I've always said they were missing a bench. And believe it or not, we kind of won with lack of a bench, if you want to be.
We did.
There was only 3 players reliable off LA's bench, and they actually came through and did it. And it was a crazy moment. It was wild. I mean, not only did Nneka get blocked, but she had to get the ball twice and put it in the air on a outstretched. I think it was Sylvia Fowles, if I remember. I can't remember who it was, but
it was.
Sylvia Fowles is she's a premier defender in this league, and for her to do that over such a great defender and just win it like that, it was unbelievable. And that whole series was crazy. Had some controversy in multiple games. There was still people on my timeline who was arguing about that controversy call today as we speak. But it honestly, it was due for them. It was an amazing experience to be a part of, and I'm just happy that it ended up going LA's way, obviously. But it was a good, series for Minnesota. You got to give Minnesota their credit.
Eric, with so much hype and publicity around the 20th season, of course, and again, like I said, folks, we'll talk about more about this as well throughout the remainder of the program, all the way till 11 o'clock local time here and 1 a.m. back on the East Coast. But I guess, Eric, seeing first of all, again, another Western Conference team winning, but again, it was the first time ever where 2 Western Conference teams played each other for the championship under the new format. But again, Eric, it was a classic series that, again, like Brian Hagler said, went 4-4. It seems like in the entire series, if you include the regular season games and all 5 of the postseason games in the series, at least. But I guess, Eric, probably in recent memory, where does this one probably rank in your mind in regards to, either great competition or just how, it was, just totally epic in all 5 games that were played?
I thought last year's was pretty good. I thought 2015's was pretty good between Indiana and Minnesota. But this one was probably the best because, well, for one, you had the 2 best teams in the league playing against each other. That's clearly what the playoff format change was supposed to do, and it worked. And I thought just by the results of the games, by the cumulative final scores, by the last seconds, it was literally decided in the last seconds. So that was really cool. I think it was just something that we kind of figured was going to happen the entire season. It's got to be LA and Minnesota. There can't be any other result. And really, it was a fairly easy path for both teams. And then they really just gave each other hell in 5 games. It was really fun to see. And I think in order for the league to grow, you got to have the best possible competition. And they gave it to us. I mean, it was a really good series. So yeah, I would say it was satisfying.
Couple comments real quick, guys, from one of our great viewers and longtime chat box correspondent, or fan, I should say, but Space Chunky, that's Corey, for those of you folks that follow him on Twitter. Yeah, he jokingly says, I only think the Sparks only one was karma for me not being here for the longest time for being too scared of LA Sparks fans with a smiley face. He also says,
Oh my goodness.
He also says about EDD and the trade, he says the conferences are irrelevant in the WNBA now, so it does not matter who gets traded where. So, Corey, I don't know if it's really karma, man, but we appreciate it, though. We loved, though, when you were able to watch, when you had time. And, again, thanks for dropping by and seeing us again. And Todd with a quick overseas update about Raquana Williams. Guys, of course, Raquana did not play for LA last season after getting hurt over the offseason. He says leading the Turkish league right now with averaging 26 points per game. He says if you look at that league, they have a ton of WNBA players over there, so it is well-earned for her right now. But, again, Shorty, sadly, we did not get to see Raquana shine for LA, of course, with that injury she suffered over the offseason last season. And Sally, folks, will not be a part of the LA ring ceremony due to her not playing a game with LA, so she does not qualify for the championship ring at this point. But I guess, Shorty, if in fact she is still in the plans for LA next season, because again, we've heard some talk about maybe her and the lottery pick for LA being dealt away for either some more bench depth. But Shorty, if Williams has come back to LA full strength, what is LA getting in return if and when she does come back to the team this year fully healthy?
I think, they're getting a score. I mean, Raquana Williams is known to score, getting into the lanes, driving, scoring, drawing fouls and things like that. And I think she's also a pretty good defender as well. So you're definitely going to get, a very great player. I'm just worried about, between her and Chelsea Gray, because they're sort of going to be somewhat in the same position. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out fully. And then there's also Davovich as well. So when the kinks in that gets worked out, hopefully, she'll find her place in Los Angeles.
So again, Crystal, we've heard some rumblings, I guess, a little, some small little seismograph activity with the kind of like some small rumblings, I guess, of perhaps, maybe LA deals away with Williams in the lottery pick they got from the Sun for maybe some more bench talent. But I guess, Crystal, if in fact, though, Williams does stay with LA next season, what will she provide for LA? Of course, you kind of really hit the nail on the head about LA. Pretty much winning with a lack of a bench last season and how they won the championship last season. But I guess, Crystal, if in fact Raquana stays in LA's plans, what perhaps are they going to be getting in return for her coming back this season, and why?
If they do in fact keep Raquana Williams, they, like Troy said, they'll be getting a score, and possibly she might be coming off the bench because of what Chelsea did this season, or I don't know if you want to say this season, last season, but what Chelsea did proved that she can be in this league. She might even be a starter for LA, depending on what they do with their roster. I heard Shorty say something about Ana Dabovic. We like Ana around here, but I don't know. I don't know realistically. I mean, I'm a huge Ana fan, even though she trash talked me. That's a different story. I don't know realistically if we're going to keep Ana. I don't even know if we're going to keep a lot of the foreigners that were on the team this year. But they will have to see. I mean, honestly, if you're LA, you don't have to do too much to your roster because you won a championship with what you had. I mean, you can always add a little bit, and I think adding Raquana, if they decide to keep her, will be big for them. But I mean, some of those foreigners, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with them. But that's the whole point of having an off season. That's the fun part.
As we would call it in baseball terms, the hot stove league is when you just sit around the fireplace or the heater and just talk about baseball. In this case, talk women's hoops again. So again, Eric, if in fact Raquana Williams is brought back into the picture again, we've heard some small chitter chatter about the lottery pick plus her being dealt somewhere for either a lower draft pick, or perhaps someone to come off the bench or another puzzle piece. Eric, if Williams does stay though, what is LA going to be keeping for 2017?
They'll be keeping a dynamic scorer. That girl can really fill it up. That's a bad girl right there, Raquana Williams. She is amazing. She just does a lot of things that most other WNBA players can't do with the basketball, as far as just shooting and like explosiveness. Coming off that pretty bad injury she had, you might have some questions, but she's lighting up the EuroLeague right now. So, or is it EuroLeague? Can somebody please check that? I'm not sure if her team is in EuroLeague, but anyway. Point being, she's definitely going to give him another option on the perimeter. She also might make Brian Agler go balls because that Sparks team is really process oriented, and Raquan Williams may have some trouble fitting in there initially. It doesn't really seem like a very great fit on the surface to me, personnel wise, but the great coaches can make it work. The great players will make it work. The great teams make it work, and LA is a great team. So I'm very interested to see how Raquana fits in LA.
By the way, Eric, just clean up on your aisle. It's Gobble Gobble. She's over in the Turkey League right now, the Turkish League right now over there, where, again, Todd said she's averaging 26 points per game. And Todd, to answer your question, she does hold the, at this point, at least I recall off the top of my head, does own the league record for scoring in a single game with 51 or 52, I believe, in a game with Tulsa a couple of seasons ago at this point in time. Other than that, guys, I think we'll move on now and sort of, I guess, now get to the full season now, because, again, I think we'll try to go all 2 hours. If not, we'll at least go an hour 45, if not a little bit. But we'll get to more about this. But again, Shorty, starting off with you here again, but 20th season of the WNBA is so much pageantry and so much, built around this season. Of course, new president in place, brand new identity with, the new hashtags and the new advertising gimmicks and the brand new playoff format, a lot of things. Shorty, in your mind, what is your overall final thoughts on how the 2016 WNBA season went, again, with a new regime, a brand new identity with, between the new ads and the TV deal that they did have in place for this year? I guess, Shorty, overall thoughts on the entire season as a whole before we get to more about the playoffs and also our thoughts about next season. What do you got?
I mean, for the league overall, it was a great season for them. Their 20th season. Once again, people didn't think it would go, that far, but they proved everyone wrong. Attendance was up. Television viewership was up. And traffic between their website was up. So everything was trending up for the WNBA. And then during the mid-season, they no, I wouldn't say mid-season, but like in the playoffs, they honored top 20 at 20. So that was special to see there. And just overall, I like the change with the regular season schedule, adding more cross-conference matchups between the teams, and then the playoff change overall. So I just think it was a great season for the WNBA. But for the 21st season next year, I don't like it, especially when a season came out so far. National television games were trimmed down from 14 to 9. So I think in that case, we're going a little backwards. So hopefully for next season, it will, come out good, because the 20th season was good, but I just don't like the trim down of the national TV games.
Along with a certain team will play on May 13th at a certain building at 2:00 Pacific time. We'll get to that momentarily in the later part of this block here. But again, Crystal, the 20th season for the WNBA, of course, no one envisioned it being here this long except maybe the founding fathers or the founding players of this league that started this thing back in '97. But again, they had a lot of great stuff. Of course, the Sparks, the Liberty, and Mercury, all celebrating their official 20th seasons. Again, they had special nights either to bring back former players from the past to the games, to a certain game against a former 20th season team, whether it was the Sparks playing the Liberty or the Mercury hosting San Antonio or what have you. But I think that the biggest thing that I love most, guys, and Shorty hit the nail on the head with this, was the brand new schedule format again, where it wasn't, like Major League Baseball or the NHL or the NBA, where you play one Eastern Conference team, or you play, the Eastern Conference one time, home and away, where now you have more and more of those inter-conference matchups, which I think really added much more, I guess maybe enthusiasm to games, or much more, or added a little extra punch, I guess, to what the league was lacking with that new schedule format, is more so what I kind of lean towards more. But I guess, KT, what are your thoughts, though, about the overall final chapter of the 20th season coming to an end back in October?
You know what? Like Shorty, I do think that for the 20th season, everything was great. The number of games they showed on TV was great. I like the idea that they kind of went back to a little bit of originality with the jerseys, when they had, with like the colorful jerseys. I guess that's what I forgot what they're called, but I kind of like that aspect. I hope they bring that back next year. They probably won't, unfortunately. I also like the cross-country game schedule. And believe it or not, and I'm not just saying this because LA won, y'all. So But I like the way the playoffs worked out with the 8 best teams overall. I think
except for the single round.
Yeah, except for the single round. I think that's coming back again. But except for the single round, I do like the whole best of 8. I feel like they should at least get 2 games in the first round. But I liked how everything worked out. I liked how it played out. And again, like Shorty said, it does suck that they couldn't get from 14 to 10. I feel like you made such a great accomplishment. Everything was up, ratings was up, sales was up, but you're going back to 9. I don't understand why you would tease us like that as a from going such 14 games to 9. But hopefully next season is good. Hopefully it's just as well as it was this year. It's exciting. I can't wait for it. Just can't wait to see what happens next year, and hopefully it's another eventful season.
So, by the way, guys, one pretty good comment from Corey, who says, "I forgot the Sparks every Quana. Might as well give LA the next 3 or 4 straight titles right now at this point in time on December 24th."
Nah.
So that's what he's wanted to say, but again, that's his thoughts on that. But again, Eric, once more, 20th season for the WNBA, so much hype, enthusiasm behind the league for this year again, as Shorty brought up again, the 20 best players named to the top 20 at 20. They were brought on the court during one of the finals games in Minneapolis during the finals this year. Again, everything from the merchandise sales and the attendance and the TV stuff. But I guess, Eric, looking at this year at least, what are your final thoughts on how well the 20th season did go this year for the WNBA on the positive side of the spectrum?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought the 20 at 20 was a nice touch, although I think they could have I'm not sure if they made the best picks for that, but that's another story. The playoff system was a huge success, obviously. I like how they eliminated conferences. As Shorty said, the regular season schedule, I like that too, because you don't have the same teams playing each other like 4 or 5 times in a season. That gets annoying. The one thing I did not like was that the WNBA fined players for wearing black warm-up shirts. I thought that was ridiculous. But
Agreed.
That was garbage, but we're not going to get into that, I guess. Other than that, I thought it was a pretty good season. I do not like how they reduced the number of national TV games for next season. It's never-ending battle we're fighting here. It's really annoying. But yeah, I thought the season was a success. Every season in the league is alive as a success, pretty much. But yeah, it was a really good season to watch.
So again, Shorty, that now moves me on to my next point about the season. Again, the playoff format, of course, folks, shifted from the top 6 teams of each conference, or top 4 teams out of each conference, either 1 through 4, going through the conference semifinals, conference finals, and the WNBA finals. 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 5 the whole way. But again, Shorty, they did away with that this year, thankfully, to a NFL or Major League Soccer style playoff format this season, with a lot of misconstrained things to do between crisscrossing between higher seed and lower seed, going to certain teams and certain opponents. I guess, Shorty, I know that we kind of boo-hooed or were sort of skeptical about the new format for the playoffs, but I guess, Shorty, in your mind, how well did the format, in your mind, work for this year at least? And what would you like to see perhaps tweaked or changed for next year?
I mean, as it was previously brought up, it was overall success. It was meant for the 2 best teams to, make it to the finals, and that actually was accomplished. So there you go. They got that done. But just overall, what I would like for them to tweak is, the first and second rounds. They should actually eliminate, or not necessarily eliminate, but actually combine those 2 rounds. So instead of them trying to make 4 rounds, make 3 rounds with the first round and second round combined, having at least best of 3. And then from that, you could keep, the semifinals and the WNBA finals with the best of 5 series. So you can keep that, just combine the 2 former rounds, because, that's too short. And it's just, I don't think it's fair, for one team. What if one team sadly decides to have an off night or some kind of injury, where a player is out or whatever the case may be? Then, it won't be fair to them. So combine those 2 rounds.
All right. So again, Crystal, I know that we kind of, had boo-hooed and we're sort of skeptical about how the new format worked. Again, we had a lot to digest here. Again, you had, the top 8, regardless of conference, in the mix. Again, top 2 teams got 2-round buys, 3 and 4 got 1-round buys. The bottom 4 teams, after played NCAA tournament style, March Madness style elimination games in the first 2 rounds, and then before they even got to the league semifinals to play 3 out of 5 rest of the way out. Crystal, what are your overall thoughts on the format change for this year, and what would you like to see changed or improved or tweaked for next season?
I like the format except for the one and done thing. I think they should at least give them 3 games, and I think the remaining games would probably be 5 games. Just like old school, just to make it fun and funky. But I do like the best of 8 teams thing. I mean, it made the season much more competitive. You didn't see people just barely, doing enough. Like, they actually, all the games counted. I mean, all your games count anyway, but literally all the games counted, and I like that. Like, Phoenix barely got into playoffs. I mean, Washington was right there for the longest and kind of just blew it in the end. So I kind of like that now the games significantly mean something, and these teams can't just mosey around and sit in one spot. Like, they actually have to work for it. But other than that, I would say switch the one and done thing and probably make the rest of the games best of 5.
So again, Eric, top 8 teams, regardless of conference, qualified for the playoff bracket again, and they filled it out again with the top 2 teams being given 2-round buys to the league semifinals. But the next 2 teams, 3 and 4, got 1-round buys to play another elimination round style, and then of course the bottom 4 teams were paired off into single elimination style matchups in round 1 and round 2. Eric, what did you like about it, and what would you like to see improved and/or tweaked for next season?
Well, pretty much everyone's taken my thoughts already, again, as usual. I did like the eliminating of conferences virtually, because there's really no point for that. And once again, it ensured that we got the best possible competition at the highest level, which is nice. I agree that I didn't like the idea of having a best of 1 series, single elimination. I didn't like that at the onset. I didn't like it as it was playing out. I think I would definitely be in support of making those series best of 3, or just not best of 1. That's dumb. But I think you have, in order to do that, you got to shorten the regular season, because you can't just put more games in there. And I'd be fine with shortening the regular season, to be honest, or not putting fewer regular season games in lieu of more playoff games, basically. So I think that's a potential option. That's a potential fix. And, you don't know if the league is going to do that, because I think they're going to go home and they're going to evaluate, what worked, what didn't. I would hope they do, because that's what good businesses do. But I digress. I think because this is kind of an experiment, and I think hopefully if they have any foresight, they will say, okay, here's what worked, here's what didn't. Are we going to keep trying this? Are we going to give it a few more seasons and then change it again? We don't know. I think that's what I would like to see them do, but I don't get paid to do this. So,
Eric, one quick question from Todd. He's wants to know: are you saying you want to see a 30-game regular season as opposed to 34, or what do you think?
Yeah, something like that. 30 games is plenty, to be honest, because you got to take some games and move them over to the playoffs, because you can't just put more games. There's no money. I would definitely be in support of that. 34 games, that's more than enough. 30 games is still fine. As long as there's room to make more playoff games and make the playoff series more competitive, basically.
34 games, the same season schedule for Major League Soccer as well, along with the WNBA. Todd's comments, guys. He says he's in favor of a 1-game elimination in round 1, but feels that round 2 should be 2 out of 3 for round 2 of the series, but the round 1 should still stay a 1-game win or go home situation this evening for the postseason picture. So again, sure, that does now bring me to somewhat of a background idea or background discussion about the 2017 season. Again, guys, the schedule coming out without anyone noticing or anyone really hearing about it, but coming up at a very decent time the week before Thanksgiving when the schedule did come out. But of course, Shorty, there's a couple of things that are sort of having fans up in arms, of course, which will begin, guys, with the television snafu again. From 14 to 9 television games on the season schedule at this point right now. There could be added more in, of course. But again, Shorty, is right now 9 games only on the schedule. And of course, Shorty, for at least the 1,000th time, the Sparks will play Seattle to open up their 2017 season, also on their ring and banner night, or banner day, I should say, on a Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock at Staples Center. Shorty, I guess to start off the 2017 debate or discussion about the television snafu again. Now, Shorty, again, 14 TV games last year, plus any other games that could not be viewed on ESPN were picked up by NBA TV, which I guess is just as good as ESPN or any other national TV market. But I guess, Shorty, what are your thoughts, I guess, about the WNBA sort of degressing from such a great season into sort of going back to, before last season again, was sort of how we are stuck once more in another TV dilemma once more?
Yeah, definitely don't like it. All the progress that was made this year and everything trending up, it just looks like we're going one step forward and two steps back. And I mean, a number of things could play into it. It could be because even with, how good, the 20th season might have done, maybe television ratings for the national TV games probably didn't do so well as we would have hoped. So maybe that's why they're cutting down games. But, it's just another bad situation for the WNBA to be in. So now they're going to have to try to make do with these, 9 national TV games going forward.
Shorty, I'm going to stay with you real quick because I want to bring something up, but I totally forgot about this. And this is staying with the playoffs, guys, real quick. Shorty, do you believe that more professional sports leagues will look to adapt or adopt the current WNBA playoff format as of right now? Would you probably, or do you think at least that maybe other sports leagues would want to give this type of a playoff system or playoff format, give it a chance, give it a whirl in your mind? What do you think?
I think possibly, some other leagues might, want to try the same, depending on, money and things like that, and how the reception will be, for the fans as well, and how they will, adapt to it. So I think they will. And of course, we all know that the NBA, when they implement something in the WNBA, it's because they want to test it out there first before adapting it to the NBA. So I think the NBA will eventually try something like this current format in the WNBA, but it's possible for other leagues to want to replicate the same thing happening, with the format as well in the WNBA.
Now, Crystal, 2 other pro leagues already sort of mimic the WNBA playoff format. That is both the No Fun League, aka the National Football League, and Major League Soccer have the same type of system in place of either wild card or knockout round games, followed up by a crisscross again of reseeding teams. Crystal, do you think, though, that maybe other pro sports leagues or maybe other leagues in general would want to try and give this type of format at least a chance or a tutorial run maybe to see how it would work for them?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's pretty competitive. I think it was extremely competitive. I'm not saying that the WNBA wasn't competitive before, but this might have been one of the most competitive seasons that I've seen in a while. So, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't, especially if you want to get the best teams and not have like a boring finals or like a snooze fest of a playoff. I think they'll be willing to.
So, Eric, we know that Major League Baseball already has the wild card system in place, but again, that was sort of changed to, again, a similar round 1 system for the WNBA where you have the 2 wild card teams play 1 game elimination and they go to the divisional series. The NFL is the same way, of course, with 4 wild card teams or at least 2 wild card teams playing in a single elimination game as well. Of course, March Madness is the same exact way. Eric, do you think, though, that maybe other leagues would at least attempt to try to mimic this system for their playoffs in your mind, or what do you think?
I don't know. I don't think there's any real reason for the NBA to do it because they have the money and the overall influence to play these long series for every round. And the NFL definitely can't do it because you can't really have a series in the NFL because everyone's like going to die. So if you play too many games, that's why they play only once a week. So you can't really do that. Don't know much about soccer, so I can't comment on that. I think it's a unique situation for the WNBA because of the lack of funds. But you can still play basketball like on a back-to-back or in 2 games in 3 days or what have you. So maybe they'll experiment with it. I think maybe some European basketball leagues would experiment with it because not all of them are in great financial shape. But as it stands, I think the WNBA is going to be the sole proprietor of this little system for a little while. But that's just my opinion. I don't really know anything about business, so take it for what it's worth.
Either way, I mean, I think it did its job this year. Crystal, we'll go back to you now on the previous point I brought up again. WNBA TV, again, being relegated to 9 national TV games on the ESPN family networks. And, of course, guys, we'll get at least maybe about 30 more games, at least, if not more, on NBA TV during the course of the year. But, again, Chris, like Shorty said, though, I mean, you're going from one big step forward to 2 huge steps backwards in my mind, going from the 14 to the 9. You even hit on this, too, about the downward trajectory you're going on from going from 14 to 9. Chris, in your mind, though, I guess, what do you make, though, about this TV situation that the league is stuck in for 2017 at this point?
You know what? I mean, it does suck, but I guess, like you said, since NBA TV will be picking up a few of those games, it sucks, but at least it's something. We could not have anything. I really would have wished that it could be on ESPN because I feel like a lot more people have ESPN than NBA TV. But, I mean, what I say all the time, the bald-headed stepchildren of the sports world, and I mean they just every year just keep showing. But I mean, I guess we have to be grateful that they are showing those games on NBA TV, and they are showing those games on TV in general. So I guess we kind of have to unfortunately take what we give. Beggars can't be choosers at this point. But you would think, like Shorty said, coming out for historically like a pretty good season for the league last year, you would think that they would want to up the ante and keep doing what they did. But I mean, I guess we just have to take it and love it.
Todd says about playoff formats real quick. He says over from the Israeli Basketball League, he says they play 3 out of 5 in semifinals and finals. They only take the top 4 and seed them 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. And he thinks most of Europe is the same way as well. And Corey says maybe the NBA someday will do seeding regardless of conference. They were lucky the Cavs and LeBron got hot last season in his mind about that, with the NBA possibly, again, doing this format shift. But again, Eric, going back to what we were just talking about here, again, was sort of, again, 1 big step forward, 2 huge steps backwards, again, from 14 to 9 games for ESPN coverage of the of ESPN's WNBA coverage. And I think, Eric, that in my mind, it looked like that the WNBA had a very, very piss poor excuse about these big 9 games that they're going to be showing. We're going to be having champions and MVPs and Olympians. Eric, in my mind, you could have done that easy last year, but why do you have to do it this year? But again, with a very limited number of games, I think that they really, made a bigger deal about having 9 games this season as opposed to how they had 14 last year. Eric, in your mind, how does this, I guess, kind of shape out WNBA TV coverage for 2017 in your mind with, again, 9 games as opposed to 14 from last season?
Yeah, marketing 9 games more than 14 games is a little unwise, isn't it? That doesn't make much sense. I don't know. It sucks. We go over this every single time, but to be honest, the league just doesn't get enough viewership and enough money to have the pull with the national TV networks in order to justify having more games on TV. It sucks. It is what it is. I really think they could do a better job at putting more games on TV despite those things. But once again, this isn't my field at all. So I'll just continue to be a bitter fan and complain about it until something is done.
Simple as that. Todd also says, don't forget, guys, that Indiana, Dallas, and San Antonio will have no national television games this season. Again, with it being more so towards Chicago, or more so towards LA, Seattle, and all of them. Again, with the 9 games at this point in time being shown right now. Corey also says it would be nice if there was a certain day each week that the WNBA would have games instead of being whenever, as opposed to, of course, guys, the league-wide Monday off day for travel, of course, and games being played Tuesday through Sunday. And, of course, a lot of stretch guys will be maybe 1 game a night as opposed to maybe having a full slate of games. So Corey as well says he wanted to say as well, he ties his comment back here. He says, once again, he says, would be nice if there was a certain day each week that the WNBA would have certain games on instead of being whenever, he says, relating to ESPN. So like how ESPN has NBA Wednesday and NBA Friday. So he says maybe make it like a WNBA Wednesday night or something like that to be able to have those games shown on television as well. With that, guys, well, I think we'll use up the last 50 minutes of our program here. Talk about all of the goons in here, of course, guys. We celebrated our 2nd full year on YouTube, of course, with the rebrand and relaunch, guys, of course. That, of course, happened in October of last year, but, of course, wrapped all the way into this year. here this season. And guys, I think it's pretty interesting to know that October 20th of this year, when the Sparks beat Minnesota, was ironically the first night that we came on here when we relaunched the network as well on October 20th. So I guess, Shorty, to kind of start off the network discussion at least here once more, again, second full year on, but again, bigger and better. We improved in a lot of different areas. I remember sending guys like all the little analytics and stuff that I would look at every night from like all the views and the likes and the comments and stuff about that. Shorty, looking back at this whole season again, from when we launched in October all the way till at least till now, Shorty, overall thoughts about how far we really did come, coming from where we were. And again, as I have already said, taking that next step to the next level for the growth of the network for this season at least.
Yeah, for, the network overall, I think, we're trending in the right direction. I mean, our viewership is increasing, bit by bit. So that's always nice to hear. And it's good that, we're having more and more people wanting to watch us, even though I don't know why we're not that interested in Crystal's the most famous person on here. But other than that, it's good that, everyone at least, if you just want to come in and chill and talk basketball, with us, because overall that's what this program is about. We don't claim to be experts and whatnot. We're just a bunch of fans coming together wanting to talk women's hoops, and it's a good thing, and hopefully we can continue to trend in that right direction.
So again, Crystal, once more, as I've said plenty of times, we said plenty of times, and who knows how long again, when I really sat down in my old studio, again, we're in the new place now here. I know it's tough to tell, but we're in the new place here once more. But again, Chris, when I really sat down here, really thought about what was going on, of course, with the former broadcast team, and we were struggling, and we were on the struggle bus. Basically, it's like we were on like a 10-game losing streak. It seemed like every other day it felt like being on here. But again, Crystal, I took that deep breath and I thought, we're going to be fixing some things, and then we tweak a few things, we pulled the right strings, and we pull all you guys in. And again, Crystal, launching October 20th of last year all the way through now, we've had so many great things. Of course, we'll get to all the stuff that we've talked about. But I guess, Crystal, what would you say though about being a part of this this really cool thing spurred on by by a group of fans that are just big fans of the sport?
Like Shorty said, we're not experts at all. Most of us have different opinions, except for today. It seemed like we all kind of agreed on the same thing. We just love the game of basketball, the sport of basketball. We love the WNBA, and there's not that many people who are knowledgeable of basketball in general talking about the WNBA. So I think in order for us to have a platform like this, it's actually pretty cool. And for us to say our own opinions and root for our own teams and root for other teams too, even though sometimes it may hurt our souls to do so, but we do it. We're not biased here. We love every team and every player equally the same. But I think it's a pretty cool situation, pretty cool platform. And Shorty's lying. I'm not famous at all. That's Eric. Eric Nimchok is the one that everybody swoons and sighs over. But yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. And I thank you for creating something like this.
We now, folks, interrupt our programming to bring you a WNBA 365 breaking news alert. This just announced from the San Antonio Express News. The San Antonio Stars have named their new head coach for next season. Her name is Vicki Johnson, who, of course, guys, was on the bench as a Stars assistant coach for the past couple seasons. This was reported and confirmed by Terrence Thomas, the Stars beat writer for the San Antonio Express News, and retweeted, of course, by Eric Nemchok, our great man in the Hangout here, and as well by Marquez Anderson of the Product Spurs Network, as well as StarsHoops.net. Shorty, immediate reaction. Give us your thoughts on this breaking news story. Again, Vicki Johnson named new Stars head coach. What do you got?
Well, she has been a long time assistant, under Dan Hughes. So initially, it makes sense. But for our co-host, Marquez Anderson, he might not be too happy about this.
Yeah, so again, this is interesting, folks. Again, this is breaking news. Again, this was just sent out again by a few sources, but again, it was written out and confirmed by Terrence Thomas, a beat writer for the San Antonio Express News. Again, Vicki Johnson to be named the new Stars head coach. Crystal, any sort of opening reaction to this at all? Again, we've seen Vicki, of course, on the sidelines recently, but again, being promoted to head coach under new GM Ruth Rowley. What do you got?
Um, I don't think Vicky Johnson's a bad choice. I mean, she knows that team. She's been there. She knows the ins and outs. I don't know if she's going to come with anything different. She might. Who knows? But if I just want to know why did it take them so long if they knew they were just going to hire Vicky Johnson? They could have just told us that like the week their season was over. Like, yeah, by the way, guys, we're gonna, you on up. I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I think Vicky Johnson will, develop that team. It's just funny that it took them so long to announce a coach that was technically already behind their door. Like, can we say it yet? Do I have the job yet? Like, I think it's good for them, and congrats to Vicky. She's been in San Antonio's organization for a while, and I think that might be pretty good for them.
At certain points, I want to know if Vicky Johnson was doing her best Jim Parsons impersonation of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, knocking on the door. Ruth. Eric, any reaction to again this developing and now breaking news story again? Vicky Johnson named new head coach of the San Antonio Stars. What do you got?
This was very, very expected, in my opinion. It is kind of funny that they waited so long. I'm not sure what they were doing. Maybe they were interviewing candidates. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible choice because she was with Dan Hughes for a while, and she was with this, young core that they have going. It's, they don't really have much, but what they do have, she's been there with them. So they'll kind of get the continuity. And I think that's a major factor in a young team. And when you're in rebuilding phase, is the continuity, is the familiarity with the system. I don't expect much to change with that, but maybe she'll usher in a new era of basketball. Who knows? Yeah, it's good to finally have all the positions of head coach filled in the WNBA so we can get rolling here.
So once again, folks, the breaking news again confirmed by Terrence Thomas, a beat writer from the San Antonio Express-News. Vicky Johnson now to be named the new head coach of the San Antonio Stars. A little quick update or summary about Vicky J. Of course, Vicky at age 44 did play 13 years in the WNBA with the New York Liberty from 97 until 05, and then 4 with San Antonio from 06 to 09. First player in league history to amass 4,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists. In 4 years with San Antonio, she helped the team to the league finals in 08 and the Western Conference Finals in 2007. She will now be the 9th head coach in San Antonio or Utah Silver and/or Stars history. But again, folks, that breaking news once more. Vicky Johnson named new head coach of the San Antonio Stars, the 9th head coach in franchise history. Again, she'll be at the helm of the Stars coming up this season when the Stars do begin their 2017 season. Now, folks, we'll get back onto regular program coverage and regular programming standards right now again. So, Eric, once more, we were in the middle again of talking a little bit about the network so far before we had that breaking news come across the Twitter timelines here. But again, Eric, we've had you here. Of course, you've been you were a viewer of us. You've tweeted with us plenty of times. And of course, now we brought you on somewhat as what you thought maybe would have been like a very limited role, but now you're here, of course, as a part of the panel when you have time, when you're not writing for Fast Break. And again, Eric, of course, you were the first person to ask, is there like any way I can help out with this? What can I do for you guys? And Eric, you've been a part of a great year, and of course, you took over at the helm, of course, when I was gone for those. How long was it again? Yeah, those 76 days I was out of my house getting my house fixed. But again, Eric, any thoughts you'd like to pass along about about how great of a year it was for year number 2 here?
It was fun. I think it's a little late for me sometimes, but yeah, it's fun. And by the way, quick little interjection here. Today's Fast Break is rebranded. It's now fanragsports.com, but it's the same people, same me, same writing, so we're good with that. Also, but yeah, anyway, I thought it was fun. It was kind of fun to host the show a few times because we got to do things a little differently. But now that you're back, we are more organized, shall I say, because now we don't have Crystal messing everything up. So we're all good. Everything's back to normal.
All's well and ends well, right? So, of course, guys, we ran a Twitter poll question for you folks out there about what you thought was your favorite show of the year. Now, folks, the reason why this poll question was asked, it will be the every Christmas or around every Christmas time, I normally stockpile a bunch of tweets that you'll be able to for shows to be. But first, folks, we'll again revisit our breaking news, and we'll bring on our Stars correspondent, but also loyal friend and our good buddy Marquez Anderson from StarsHoops.net, along with the Project Spurs Network. Joining us probably on winter break, but at least recently was at LSU over there in the Bayou State of Louisiana over at LSU. MA, good to see you, buddy. How's it going tonight?
Pretty good, yeah. I've been good. How about y'all?
Hey,
Not bad.
Feels good to be home. I'll tell you that much right now, man. Hotel living sucks terribly. So again, Marquez, to revisit the breaking news again, brought up here again by Terrence Thomas of the SA Express News again. Vicki Johnson now named the 9th head coach in Stars history. Marquez, give us your instant reaction on this developing and now breaking story.
I think Stars fans pretty much knew it would be her. I don't really. What kind of threw everyone off was why would it take so long to come to this decision if you kind of already knew she was going to be the front runner from the get-go? But I mean, I think she deserves it. She's been a part of the team for a long time as a player and now as a coach. So I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how well she does. You just hope that she just doesn't make some of the same mistakes that we've made previously that have sometimes set us back. But it's kind of good to see that she'll finally get the job that she's always wanted.
So, MA, we'll stay with you real quick, and we'll ask this question for the remainder for the entire perimeter here real quick. Marquez, starting with you real quick on this. Again, folks, once more, again, the breaking story, Vicki Johnson named the 9th head coach of the San Antonio Stars, will begin the season this year as their head coach. By the way, Marquez, stay with you real quick. Reagan Patrick wants to ask you, or more so is telling you, tell us how you really feel about this, MA. What do you really feel about this?
Okay, well, I know talking to a lot of fans, we kind of were like, well, maybe we'll get something completely fresh, because I'm not going to lie, in my opinion, looking at how Connecticut completely just scratched everything away and started from scratch and brought in like half their team was new, I kind of thought that would be the route we would take instead of kind of trying to fill the actual holes, but we didn't, which isn't a bad thing, but I feel like that was the safer move. But I mean, I'm still happy for her though. Like, don't get me wrong.
So, Crystal, we'll go to you. And again, Crystal, we'll go to you and ask this question because, again, you and I have been there before. But I guess, Crystal, I think I asked you this question off air plenty of times once more about, about this. But, Crystal, knowing, though, that Vicki J has played in the WNBA, played there for 13 years and, again, was on the sidelines. Crystal, how important, I guess, is it in some way that you have a coach in place that has been there before and has proven herself in the league itself? What can a player coach, I guess, in your mind now do for this young up and coming Stars team?
I think it'll be good for, especially since how young that team is. I think it'll be good for them to learn from a person who's actually been in their position before, a person who they've actually probably seen play in a few games before. She's not that far removed from the WNBA herself, so I think the fact that she was a player, a pretty good one at that, it's going to be easy for her. It's going to be easy for her to teach these young players, and I think it'll be easier for them to learn. And also, the fact that she was in the organization before, I think they're a little comfortable with her. Yeah, she might have her own new scheme and new offensive defense, whatever she's trying to do, but they know her, so the comfortability is there. They don't have to probably work as hard to try to impress her because they know she's been there for them. So I think Vicki Johnson, was pretty good for them. I'm disappointed that Marquez is kind of like about it though, because he was hoping. I can understand what he's saying though about the Connecticut thing. I mean, Kurt Miller for them, he's, even though they're a young team, you can tell that team has improved. So I get what Marquez is saying. You want to see a fresh start, but hopefully Vicki Johnson leads them in a good path.
Shorty, going to you on this again, how much or how important is it in your mind that Vicki Johnson again is going to bring her 13-year playing career to the captain's helm for the Stars here? And again, and how much, and really in your mind, how can that really help this young team again that really struggled throughout the entire season last year?
Eric once brought up, is going to provide, continuity because she has been assistant. They're going to have that familiarity with her and her system. But then on the flip side, from Mark, as that could be a good thing or bad thing, because she's already that the team is going to be looking ahead for
All right, folks. By the way, a quick disclaimer: it's been raining pretty heavily in Southern California for the last few hours, so it's messing with Shorty's connection. Marquez, back to you. A question from Tom in the chat box. He's asking, will Vicky change this Hughes walk the ball up and play 21st century up-tempo basketball like the Sun? They need a change in style where every possession is not do or die. Marquez, what do you think probably will happen, though, when Vicky J does implement her new offensive and defensive schemes in your mind?
Well, it's really hard to say because considering she was there with Hughes and she learned a lot from him, so I wouldn't say she'll completely wipe away the board, even though I think we go more up tempo because that kind of fits the style, the current players that we have. I'd say she may keep a few of the things that he did, but I really hope that she kind of implements her own styles and schemes because, you don't really want the same old that kind of set us back before, like falling in love with player types instead of like actual like impact players. I hope she didn't learn that from him, but I think she'll still kind of keep what she learned from him in the back of her mind and kind of implement some of her ideas as well.
So, Crystal, what do you think about this again in regards to Todd's question again? Do you think it's time that they do perhaps change up the offensive tempo and offensive formations and schemes, or what do you think will happen, though, with Vicky J again, sort of, as Marquez said, being under Dan Hughes' umbrella for such a long time down there?
I would like to see some things change up. You have a really quick guard in Mo Jeff, and you might have another quick guard in Dale Robinson. So it's kind of, you would love to see something different. But because she's been under one guy for so long, his tutelage, something might not change. But you never know. Vicky Johnson is a vet. She knows what she was a vet in this league. She knows what she's doing. She's pretty smart when it comes to basketball IQ. So I have the same hopes as Marquez, but we never know. Like I said, this is what makes the offseason fun. You never know what's going to happen.
So again, Eric, once more about this. We'll get back on track with what we were talking about. What about the network guys momentarily? But again, folks, once again, the breaking news broken a few minutes ago. Again, Vicky Johnson named the new head coach of the San Antonio Stars, the 9th head coach in Utah indoor San Antonio franchise history. Again, Eric, I know that during a few blocks of the show last year, in June at least, that you had said, that the Stars were very process-oriented, very deliberate in their offensive style. Yep. Eric, do you believe that anything changes perhaps in your mind with Vicky J at the helm, or will perhaps some things stay the same in your mind on the offensive side of the ball?
I think a lot of that would depend on who you're picking at one, because, a good coach will to conform to the talent. But I don't know. I think they could use a change schematically because what they were doing last season was not really. They didn't really have the size or defense to be playing that slow. Usually you see smaller teams such as Chicago or Connecticut play faster, and bigger teams like Los Angeles play slower. That makes sense. But there's not. The bottom line is they need more talent in order to. Because they can play fast, they can play slow, they can play whatever. Because they need to make a right choice at number one first in order to really, and then they can go from there as far as coaching.
And to kind of piggyback on that, we have a lot of players that kind of play the same style. I remember Chris and I were having this conversation earlier. We have a lot of slashers and not that many shooters. So sometimes when we would be out there, it just got ugly because there was really no flow. It's like we pass, someone would cut. Try to cut to the basket, stop, pass out. No one could shoot it. So it's like, hopefully we bring some different type of player types and skill sets that we can mesh. Because if not, we'll probably get that same result this year as we had last year.
Point.
Marquez, staying with you. One more question from Todd Mintz about this. And again, folks, you will move on from this once more. But again, to add one more layer to this, Marquez, MA for you only here from Todd. This is about Danielle Robinson. Does she come back to the team to add depth, or is she trade bait?
Trade bait.
I think you have to do your due diligence and see what you can get out of her. So I agree, trade bait. Granted, her coming off an injury and her skill set being so reliant on being so explosive, Achilles are tough to come back from. So I really don't know how high or low her trade value will be at this point. So I think you just test and see what you could get for her. Maybe an extra pick. Maybe a young center that kind of can pass well. Because even though Apel Marinelli's gone, she was really one of our better pass and post players and screeners. And I think that's something that was really underrated for us. So hopefully you can get a post player that has those same skills, but it can add some scoring as well. So I think you just go out there, see what you can get. And if not, then I guess you can keep her and see if she comes along later in the season and then trade her that way.
Once again, folks, to put a cap on it once more, Vicki Johnson named the 9th head coach in San Antonio Stars history once more. That, of course, confirmed about roughly 20 minutes ago by Terrence Thomas from the San Antonio Express News, and, of course, our extending colleague Marquez Anderson of Project Spurs and StarsHoops.net. Again, guys, what I was getting to here, once more, but again, we had a Twitter poll question today about what we felt, or what what our viewers felt and fans thought was their favorite show of the entire season for the network. Again, we had the draft party, the one-on-one shows we did with myself, Eric, and Crystal and Shorty. We'll have Reagan and Marquez sometime soon, hopefully, as well as the 300 show for the network, and also the last show that we did inside of the former studio here. In overwhelming result, guys, 73% of the viewers picked our WNBA draft party, 12% picked the one-on-one shows, and 7% picked both the 300 show and the final show from the original Studio 171 here in San Diego. Of course, Shorty, Anila Khan, our great correspondent from Toronto, of course, said she said, obviously, it's going to be the draft party because we had 12 people in here. We had 2 players in here, or 2 players, a former player than all of us in here, talking and really live streaming the draft in a very different way, of course. But Shorty, what are your thoughts on the poll question, and what was your personal favorite show from the year?
No comment.
The Southern California range
Draft party.
Go ahead, Shorty.
Draft par.
Okay, so she's going to go with the draft party. We'll just keep it right there at this point. Hopefully we get that connection fixed. Marquez, how about you? What did you pick? Or what?
Guys hear me? Yeah.
Not quite, Shorty. Marquez, what about you? What was your favorite and why?
Even though I wasn't a part of it, I did watch the draft party and I really enjoyed it. So I'd have to go with that.
Yeah, Crystal, I think the draft party probably won everyone over. Now, I voted for all the one-on-one shows because I thought that was a really cool thing a pretty cool idea that I got to kind of, get to, it was a little form basically, but I guess, Crystal, what about you? What was your favorite show and why?
I did the draft party. I feel like everyone who was involved did a pretty good job with that. But I did the draft party because I think that was our first time in show history where we actually had some players on the show. Hopefully it's not the last time, but I think the show was really well done. What's the snickering about, guys? I don't know. See, this is why I miss this show, because you have these buffoons up here.
Snicker.
But yeah, I think the draft show was really good. Hopefully we get more players or personnel in the future, and it was a fun show to be a part of.
And Eric, how about you? I know that you were sadly at Buffalo Wild Wings now. You're with the Sky fans watching the draft in its entirety there, but he joined in like the last 2 minutes of the program and he got on.
Yeah.
Eric, what was your overall favorite, or was it maybe a show that you hosted maybe that was probably your personal favorite, and why?
No, that would be kind of egotistical of me to say that. I did enjoy that, but I'm actually still going to vote for other, though. I'm going to say the whole March Madness thing when we went over and we decided all of our picks for the tournament and everything. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of joking around in that. That was really cool. So I'm going to vote for that.
And hopefully we'll have the draft party and that show bigger and better the next season. Todd says he went with the draft show. That was a great 2 or 2.5 hours or so of great information analysis. And by the way, Eric Rapp says that Trick and Patrick folks says, Eric, don't be so humble, please.
Thank you, Rapp.
You're gonna make his head big. Don't do it, Reagan.
It's already big.
Now we're gonna. Ooh.
Oh, okay. All right. Whoa.
Now we're gonna have it.
Pew, pew, pew. Shots fired here from Mr. Anderson, and he was just put on mute by Eric Nemchok. So beautifully done there by those gentlemen right there. Guys, I voted for the one-on-one shows because it was kind of an idea that kind of popped in my head during towards the end of before I left on vacation, or more so actually it came to me over while I was in Phoenix more so. over Memorial Week, and I was thinking of like ideas to add to the program. Of course, I've taken input from you guys, but I think it was really cool though, because it kind of, made me kind of go back to my college days where I got to interview Candace Parker, Candace Wiggins, where I got to have more of a personal discussion with them more than, what we do here on a nightly basis. And again, Crystal, you were the first one here, or at least you were the part of the first two. Of course, it was myself sharing a story. And then you, of course, with your great story about Christy Tolliver and, what you had gone through last summer. Crystal, what were your thoughts about how the one-on-one shows did go? Because again, we have two more to do with Marquez and Rap eventually, sometime soon, whenever they have time to do it. But I guess, Rap, what were your thoughts though about about that idea that I got? And I think that all those shows went very, very well.
You called me Reagan by accident, but I'll let it go because Reagan is a wonderful, cool person. But I thought the shows were cool. I mean, not everybody knows us, and I think those one-on-one shows help people get to know us on a deeper and personal level. I didn't think those one-on-one shows would go so well, but they do pretty well. Everybody has their own interesting story, and I think everybody, you know what it is? I think we're like a mystery to some people who don't follow us on Twitter or social media, because we can kind of cut up a little bit, in the words of the old people, especially Marquez. Marquez is petty boots, but that's a different story. But I think people, because they really don't know us, we're kind of like in the middle of some people, but we are real people. We have personal things we go through, and I think the one-on-one stories, help them get to know us a little bit better.
Well, you're famous, so it's okay.
I am not famous. I don't know why.
Knows you.
No, I don't know why people keep saying that. That's
you
not.
Are.
Don't listen to them. I am not. I am just Crystal Thomas, a girl who likes to play basketball, a humble being. Don't listen to them at all. They're liars. But I think that's why the shows probably do so well, because they get to know us on a deeper level.
Eric, I thought yours was pretty good, and how you told a story that you were at a hotel in Arizona for the White Sox spring training, and your dad walked in about Sylvia Fowles playing at LSU, and you kind of like blew it off, but then you go and see Sil play with the Sky, and how you said that that WNBA tickets were so much more affordable, and you were more hands-on with the team as opposed to maybe going to a Bulls game or Blackhawks game or what have you. But I guess, Eric, how about your thoughts on the success of the one-on-one shows that we have done so far?
I think it's pretty cool. It's a nice change of pace. I hate hearing myself talk on camera, so I don't think I'll be doing that again. But it's cool to just kind of share our own personal stories, because we have big heads and all that, so we need to kind of have our own moment in the sun, So, no, just joking. I think it's just a nice change of pace. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a nice change of pace as well. By the way, a couple comments real quick. Todd says that Shorty and myself both had good one-on-ones. He says he's sure that Crystal had a good one, but he may have missed it on accident. And Reagan says Crystal has been nominated for a Grammy Award for some reason.
What? What?
Yeah, we can discuss that with Reagan when this is all said and done. But Shorty, you actually were a part of our last one-on-one show before I went on vacation in July. Again, talking about your experience with it. But again, Shorty, how about your thoughts on the success and how well the one-on-one shows did go though for us so far?
No comment.
Sadly, it's kind of like, why and bother right now? But again, Marquez, so sadly, you and Reagan are the only two that have not done a one-on-one show just yet, and we'll work on getting those in sometime soon, hopefully. But again, Marquez, I've done two. KT's done one, Eric did his, and Shorty's done his. I guess, Marquez, what any thoughts you want to pass along about, again, sort of like Eric said, though, change of pace from us talking, about games and scores, and more so getting to actually talk about like our personal lives and what we do away from this podcast.
I like to think I'm funny. So whenever I do mine, you guys better laugh.
We're gonna make you feel good.
I'll laugh at you.
No, don't do that. Laugh with. Oh.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was that gas? What just happened?
I will share after the show.
So he's going to share after the show's over with. Okay, so we're going to go with that one. Guys, again, it was an idea that kind of came to me, just like a change of pace again. And now, sadly, I got to share two good stories. Of course, my personal experience with Candace Parker and Candace Wiggins. I'll be probably having a third one, really more so about my actual personal life, because, of course, I know most of you people follow me on social media, so you know what I'm up to every day, it seems like, at this point. But again, so with that, folks, the poll question was actually ran because on Christmas Day, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, during those times while we're away, we'll be sharing some of the best of episodes on our Twitter account and Facebook page. So you'll be able to go back and watch some of the shows that we've done for the whole weekend, all the way through Monday, and then all that fun stuff. So we'll be having that on Twitter and Facebook. So we'll be sharing some of the highlights and lowlights and sort of a best of series coming up over the Christmas weekend, coming up on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and all the way till our next program next year at this point in time on January 2nd, when we do get back into the flow of things with the entire off season coming up very soon. A couple tweets, guys, that came in before the program tonight. One from one of our good followers from at Irene St. Jude, who said, "I swear I missed y'all so much. Definitely ready for some WNBA talk." And like I said, too, guys, our good pal Anila Khan quoted our poll question tonight and did say, obviously, the draft party, because it was so much fun interacting with other WNBA bloggers or writers, watching the draft real time. And of course, guys, well, with two players, Ruth Hamblin and Derica Hamby, joining us as well during that program as well, when we did do our draft day party as well. So I guess, guys, kind of put it in a nutshell overall, just to do it here real quick. Shorty, what are your final thoughts on year 2 for the network, at least? We've already talked about the season, but Shorty, how about year number 2, at least, for the network, going on year 3, when we do have our third year anniversary in February of next year?
Oh, Homer.
Shorty says it's awesome.
Yeah, good ad lib, Crystal. Marquez, how about you? We've already talked about the season, but I guess MA again. First of all, Marquez, since you got in here late, talking about the Stars news again. Marquez, you came aboard on our season preview show, and we kind of really didn't know you. We were kind of like incognito because your handle was WBB247 or something to that effect, and you finally made yourself public, I guess. But I guess, Marquez, how fun has been for you, I guess, being a part of the network family since you came on before the season started, and you've been here ever since?
I guess some of these guys in here are all right. I guess.
You guess.
Oh, you guess. I'll take it.
Crystal is sometimes my favorite. Sometimes.
Yay!
Eric. No, I take that back. Eric actually is.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
You shut up.
you're out of the group then.
I'm sorry.
Marquez, anything further?
But no, seriously, like, I've had a lot of fun. You guys have been really nice. Well, some of you have been really nice. But yeah, it's been fun. I hope I can still do it, because you guys, I'd be missing without you guys. I'd be like lost.
Meek.
Now you're going to make Crystal cry and make Eric's head explode like a scanner. Reagan says to Marquez, she says, "Wow, we know how you really feel, Marquez, at this point in time."
Reagan is mean to me. Reagan is very mean to me.
And then Todd says he'll be working diligently with me as we try to gain the trust of more newsmakers, media, players, and writers to make the show better. We'll work on that, of course, when we do get a chance at this point in time, with that as well. But I guess, Marquez, I'll stay with you because, again, Shorty's having some problems with the rain down here in Southern California. Todd, real quick, guys, saying everyone is fading. I was lost for 2 months while we were off air after I was away and we had finished up our last show for the finals. So, again, we're glad to be back here with you guys. But I guess, Marquez, now that we go back to you on this one again, MA, overall thoughts about being a part of the network, though, for, again, the second full year, but, again, a very historic and very positive year filled with a lot of growth and a lot of great stuff over the past few months.
Yeah, it was great to do it, like I said, and it's always fun for me to interact and talk with people about sports in general, not only basketball. I try to maintain some type of knowledge on everything, but this has really been my favorite because I really do like talking basketball. And even though my team hasn't been the best as of late. We're coming back.
Garbage.
So next year, you guys prepare for it because the Stars are making a comeback.
You mean a comeback from the last team to the second to last team?
No. No.
I'm kidding, Stars fans. I love you guys too. I just have to give Marquez a hard time.
I guess, Crystal, to start wrapping things up, I guess, KT, your overall thoughts again about being here for your second full year on here again, but with brand new cast of characters on here and a whole lot of great stuff.
I don't. You know what? I'm happy to be here. I don't know how people stand to listen to me sometimes.
Neither do
I am like Eric. Okay, I was about to give you some props, but never mind. But I was gonna say, I'm like Eric. I don't like to hear my own voice sometimes. So if you do want to,
I was gonna need props.
Well, I was gonna give you more, but I was gonna say, you know, if anybody who does want to go back and watch those one-on-one shows, you can do so. If you don't feel like crying, don't watch mine though, because it was an emotional show for me and anybody else who watched it. I don't want to, you know, ruin your day. But I will say it's been cool, and like I said, I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm glad that I got to meet all you crazy fellows, and glad I got to meet Reagan too, even though she's not on here today. But everybody who's doing the show, you guys are awesome. You guys are cool to work with, and I wouldn't want to work with a better group of people, except for Marquez, because he's. I'm just playing. All you guys are awesome, and it's, you know, I guess here's to 1 more, 2 more, 3 more years. Who knows where this goes?
Oh, much thank you.
And by the way, Crystal, Reagan wanted to remind you that you have all the fans, by the way.
All the fans.
Yeah, okay, first of all, let's get this. Okay, I don't have any fans personally, but if I do have any, I do love all of you guys. Everybody here loves all you guys too. But I don't have fans where this is coming from. I don't see them. They don't be tweeting me or nothing. I don't see nobody. So I appreciate everybody who watches for all of us, but I have no fans. Don't believe them when they say that, because it's not true.
And Eric, to again start winding down our coverage for the night again once more, man. You were the first guy to call up, at least message me like, can I help out? And again, you've been a part of a lot of good stuff, filling in when I've had to go away, either some free time or again, 76 days I've been gone since I've hosted the program with the house being fixed. And then, Eric, any final thoughts you want to pass along about year number 2, or what do you got?
I agree with Shorty. I liked her comments.
Shorty.
That was a joke. She didn't say anything. Okay, never mind.
Oh man,
God, tough crowd. Jeez. Okay, I'll be serious. I'll try to be serious. I really like the show because it gives me a platform to kind of be silly and also voice my opinions in a very silly way with these fine people over here to my left or to my right. I don't know where my little face is showing up on the bottom right-hand corner, but and I don't have to be professional like when I'm writing, so that's always fun. Yeah, just the whole camaraderie of it. It's funny, you know, when you go back, and I'm gonna be like fake deep like Marquez right now. You know, when you go back and you think about what happened in the past year, like, oh, I met so many amazing people. I wonder what life would be like if this didn't happen. That's how I feel like with you guys. Like, seriously, like, you're cool peeps. I enjoy talking with you most of the time. So no matter what, I can't like unmeet you. So we might as well make it work. So
You can't unmute us.
namaste.
I mean, why would you want to unmute us anyway? Because we're awesome.
That's debatable, but you know.
You know what?
Just joking. You're cool.
Thank you for.
oh no.
I was about to tell you about yourself.
Oh my goodness. I think if there's anything that I have to say about this, you know, being the guy that, of course, had this wacky idea 2 years ago. 2 years ago already. My goodness, going on 3 next season. By the way, Reagan just wanted to say, but she's awesome for some reason. So she's just like coming out of the woodwork now with just random comments, I guess now. But again, I think, guys, that I think about this once more again, you know, sitting here, you know, when I was in my old place, you know, just thinking about, you know, I got to really do something here, you know, just because I had emails and tweets and Facebook messages and all this other nonsense about, get rid of this guy you're working with. He's terrible. He's horrible. This is absolutely pathetic. I mean, it's just, and the stuff I was reading about, the people I were working with at the time, it's like, okay, we're going to do something here. And, to rebrand and be, full bore for the league and, bring you guys on and try to see if we can have some type of leverage to get players or media folks on. And I mean, we accomplished a lot, guys, I think, in pretty much basically a year almost in regards to, over 480 views on the draft day show. We surpassed 10,000 views this year. We're getting closer to 100 subscribers. We hit 700 followers on Twitter. And we really, guys, have really built this up from square one, basically, or more so like rebuilt it up from square one. And of course, as founder, host, main host and founder, I couldn't be cannot be more pleased about how far we've gotten in the very, very short amount of time we've been a part of this. And I think, though, guys, this adds like another, I call this my sidebar project from, working in pro hockey and pro soccer and college sports. And this is like, this is my chance to be, this is my free time basically when I'm not stuck at an arena or a stadium or what have you doing other events. And again, I thank you guys very much for, again, being able to take, take the time out of your days and, out of your nights or what have you to come on here and join us for 30 minutes, an hour or 2 hours as we've gone the night. But again, folks, once more, this is our final program for the remainder of the calendar year of 2016, folks. Highlighted this year by, again, over 480 views on our WNBA Draft Day show. Of course, that was thrown by our good pal, Anila Khan. That, again, had about 15 people in this hangout, including 2 players and a former player.
Thank you, Anila.
In both Derica Hamby and Ruth Hamblin, and also with former player Chastity Melvin joining our program that evening as well, of course, as well to the night we brought Marquez on in our first half preview show. We've also, and we, of course, guys, had Steven Anderson and Mike Peterson on here plenty of times, along with all the other folks we have had, of course. And I think as well, guys, hitting 300 shows was also a major milestone too for all of us. I think as well at this point was the 300 show, of course, which was back in July, and we've had so much good stuff as well between Eric hosting on certain nights, of course, when I was gone with my house getting fixed. But on that though, guys, it's been an honor and privilege being here for 2016, and of course, but more than anything, folks, glad to be back with you folks here again after 61 days since our last show and 76 days since the last time I hosted a program. And on the 125th birthday of the sport of basketball, folks, we will sign off for the remainder of the 2016 calendar year. With that, folks, we thank you guys as usual for joining us here on the program. And I think there's not much else to say other than thank you guys very much. And again, we're glad to be back in our new digs, and hopefully we'll be able to get this. Hopefully I get my studio back in order. I got a lot of work to do still. There's still boxes and clothes all over the place. And thankfully you're just seeing my new window, but there'll be posters up and certain players signed jersey shadow box up on my wall pretty soon here as well. But though, guys, one final comment from Todd Mintz, who says, what a night of viewing pleasure. Next year is big for us. Merry Xmas and Happy New Year. With that, though, folks, we will call it a night right here and right now, and we will call it a year. We'll call it a year two for 2016, folks. From our entire network family, from our man in the chat box, Todd Mintz, to our on-camera talent of Eric Nimchok in Elmhurst, Illinois, and our LA tag team of Crystal Thomas and Shorty Mamba 24, Tisha Stewart, and for our good buddy Marquez Anderson, along as well with Reagan Patrick. This is Cal McClurg back home in San Diego signing off. May you folks have a very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, and a fun and safe New Year. We'll be back here, folks, on January 2nd at 9 o'clock p.m. to kick off our 2017 schedule of programs, folks. Take care, and again, have a wonderful and safe and fun holiday season. For Eric, Crystal, Marquez, for Tanisha, Reagan, and Todd, this is Cal McClurg signing off from the Calamax Sports Studios in San Diego, folks. Take care, good night, and happy holidays. See you next year. Bye-bye.